Record. What is going on, everyone? This is the Fourth and Fantasy Podcast, episode 43 coming your way. My name's Meek. I got my co-host Woo Woo. Week 2 of the NFL is in the books. Week 2 of fantasy is in the books. Some of us are a little shaky
Yeah,
coming off
I
of
want to talk
week
about a little
2.
shaky. Oh my God. I mean, fantasy season is off and running. Sundays are just full of watching football and checking my fantasy teams. It's people say it's an easy thing to do, but I don't think it is. I think there's a
No.
lot of thought and skill that goes into this, just to make myself sound better. But no, it's just the Bonnet League specifically, man. It's been nothing but a dumpster fire for me. Definitely not great starting off the year without a win, but thankfully it's only week 2.
Yeah, it is only week 2. That is true, but we started this podcast off of it, and did all of these analysis and rookies and mock drafts and things like that, and we're sitting in 12th and 10th place of this league, so
Yeah,
there you go. We don't always have all the
fantasy is
answers.
all luck.
That's yes. Basically, fantasy is all luck if you want to just put it that way. So top of the show, we've hit 2,115 plus plays across Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. That is thanks to the folks who are listening as you are right now, the folks who are watching as you are right now. Thank you. We love you. Twitter, make sure you're following us at Fourth and Fantasy Pod, Instagram and TikTok at Fourth and Fantasy, YouTube at Fourth and Fantasy. Please give us a like and follow on our socials and leave a comment because you may see yourself on the show. You know what, Woo? I did not have a quick question planned for us, which is totally fine because we
I have a
gotta.
quick question.
Oh, hit me with it. I'm ready.
How bad are the Jets? In one word. You can just one word. That's all I'm asking for. Just
Can
one word.
I give it with a sound effect?
Sure.
Ugh.
Yeah. Okay. That
Like
about
makes me want
works.
to vomit.
I was thinking, maybe deplorable, um,
You know what?
inept.
I, I think my one word I would give is like fraudulent because you
Fraudulent.
saw
That means they had to be good at some point
they were
or
week 1.
considered good.
What are you talking about? Week 1. You guys they put up
No, you
30
can't be
points.
fraudulent off of one week.
Yeah,
That and
but
if
no,
you're
that's what.
fraudulent, there has to be consistent talks that this team is going to be good. And there had never been consistent talks about this team being
Very,
good.
very true. But I think it's off of week 1. Justin Fields had a great game. Garrett Wilson had a good game. Brees had a good game. Like everyone who had doubted those players and they had good games, like people started to like buy the drink the Kool-Aid,
That's
and
fair.
then they
Yeah,
get
me.
smacked
I was
back
one of
down,
those people.
right? And you get smacked down to reality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With how they played against the Bills. And it wasn't even like Josh Allen had the greatest of games.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It was
They knocked
just,
him out and then they let up a 32-yard pass to Mitch Trubisky.
oh my God.
They knocked
Also,
him out of the game and they let up a 32-yard pass to Mitch
can
Trubisky.
can we talk about that touchdown run that James Cook had where he just in one mixtaped the
Again,
entire Jets defense?
deplorable, inept, pathetic, unwatchable. I mean, I could do this all day.
Yeah.
I don't think people want to listen to me do
No,
this,
no,
but I could.
we'll save it. We will get into it because I believe. Let me just double check. Yeah, Justin Fields is in our gory section.
Okay,
Spoiler
cool.
alert, but hey, we'll
Cool.
get there.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, listen, on top of the poor Jets play, we had some major things go down in NFL Week 2. So just to kind of wrap up, for those of you who don't know already, Joe Burrow had a toe injury during the game, was immediately out of the game. You could tell when he was walking off it. Some people were, I remember some PTs that follow fantasy football on Twitter were saying that potentially it was like an Achilles injury, potentially because there wasn't really any good footage when he took that sack, but MRIs came back and everything like that, so he has to undergo toe surgery for I guess they're calling it a turf toe, but it's like way worse because he has to get surgery and he's going to miss 3 months. So it's like, what's next for the Bengals? Or basically two questions for you, Will. What's next for the Bengals? And then number two, like, what does this mean if you're a fantasy manager that has Joe Burrow?
Well, I can answer both of those things. What does it mean for the Bengals? we were actually just having this conversation, getting ready for the episode where, that meme comes around where option A is, they have Joe Burrow. It's going
Yes,
into
like
that Jamar Chase draft where you got option A, where you got Joe Burrow's got plenty of time and nobody to throw the ball to because they drafted Penei Sewell. You got option B where you got Jamar Chase streaking down the field, but he's got no one to protect Joe Burrow. And it makes you think, like, going back to that conversation, is this something where the Bengals should have drafted Penei Sewell to, beef up this offensive line? Obviously, Jamar Chase is an incredible talent, and I'm sure the Bengals haven't really thought twice about that pick. But part of you has to wonder, like, well, why haven't they addressed this offensive line? They have a little bit. You mentioned the Orlando Brown when we were having this conversation a few minutes ago, but it's like, if you're going to make that Jamar Chase pick, you would have to think all of your focus now has to be on this offensive line. And, you know, even with the Bengals playing some preseason games because they've been known to get off the slow starts, they finally started season 2-0, and now Joe Burrow is going to miss the next 3 months. And, to Jake Browning's credit, he came into that game and,
threw
had a
three picks too.
he did throw 3 picks, but he came back and won the game for him off of that BS pass interference call. But that's
Yes, that
neither
should
here
never been called.
nor there. That's not Jake Browning's fault. So I mean, he won the game. Long term, like, I don't know what to think of the Bengals. The defense is atrocious, and if anybody was going to keep him in those games, it was going to be Jake Burrow, Joe Burrow, not Jake Browning. So like, as of right now, it's definitely scary hours for the Bengals. I think the season's pretty much over. Again, the defense is so bad. I don't expect Jake Browning to keep them in those games because they're going to be shootouts. When it comes to fantasy managers who have Joe Burrow, i.e. me, um, yeah, I already dropped him. I don't think there's any point in keeping him in your IR spot.
No, because three
Um,
months from now is
3 months.
January, and you're
Exactly.
already in the midst of fantasy playoffs.
Yeah. So at best, maybe you get him back for a week if you make it that far. And if you're in my position, it looks pretty bleak at the moment. So yeah, I've already dropped him. I'll be bringing up this name in just a minute here, but Daniel Jones is a name I'm looking at, who's currently the quarterback too in fantasy. He's going to match up against Tennessee, which I think will be great for him, especially since he just dropped all those fantasy points on the Denver defense. So I'm not. He might be matchup immune at the moment. So I'm gonna ride that hot wave there. But you have to be checking your waivers. I've already had conversations with other managers about some potential trades. So post tomorrow, once our waivers clear and I kind of see the dust settle and where some players ended up, hopefully on my team. But there's going to be some decisions to be made. I'll definitely have a clear answer for my next steps here on Friday
Sure.
night's episode. But right now, I'm definitely weighing every option I have because I have no other choice.
Yeah. I just think overall, like, of the pieces of the Bengals, like, you can kiss on a wide receiver one season from Jamar Chase goodbye. That's over. Uh, an elite season from Chase Brown that everyone was hoping for. You can kiss that one goodbye.
Now
That's
is already
over.
off to a slow start.
Right. T. Higgins, I mean, that that's also I mean, I don't know what your expectations were if you thought he was going to be a top 12 guy or a top
Top
15.
24.
I don't think you see a top 24 finish from him, this year. Like, all of those pieces take a dramatic step down. And to speak to, like, Joe Burrow's side of it, it's like, you know, what what do you do with this, with this guy? Like, I'm now shifting my gears to, dynasty wise. It's like,
Right.
when he plays a full season, he's phenomenal. But with, more times than not, though, he's not playing a full season. You know what I mean? This year, you only got, I mean, I don't know. He may come back and play a couple of games, but I'll be generous and say you get 5 games out of this guy. Like, if I'm a dynasty manager this summer, I might be considering, like, trying to trade him out.
I'm
And
totally okay with entertaining that.
yeah, and like we were talking about, Bengals as a team wise, like, this is such a poor run organization, and you spoke about, like, how have you not address the offensive line? It's because they have so many major holes everywhere else. So you look at
Yeah.
the defense, the defensive line is terrible. Yes, they still have Trey Hendrickson. They have nobody in the secondary. Like, they're
Yep.
they're Swiss cheese all over the place. And this is the gamble that you take when you invest, hundreds of millions of dollars in your quarterback and 2 wide receivers, because if one of them goes down, you can't afford to trade. I heard in our Bonnet group chat about people talking about trading for Jameis, trading for Kirk. Like they can't afford that.
Yeah,
They're so poorly run with their money that because I mean, and I get it. Like you put your money into your playmakers, because they deserve it. But this is the price that you pay when it goes south. Like you can't pay for anyone else, and you're gonna have to just like thug it out through this season, which sucks
right.
because I think a lot of people had postseason aspirations or in major fantasy, uh, you know, production from multiple people on that team, and it sucks because it's just now a whole grouping. You can just kind of like cancel out your expectations because of one player.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I want to sit here and agree with that, what you were just talking about paying all these guys, but I sat here all summer telling you to pay T. Higgins. The summer before, I was talking about Jamar Chase. So, I was in on those contracts, but the other side of the coin, it's you're right. If one of these guys goes down, you have zero flexibility to adjust this roster in any way, especially in an impactful way to keep you in playoff contention. So they're definitely limited now with options. I don't even know. Like, they definitely can't go the Kirk route. They don't have the money for it. They can't go the Jameis route. I don't know who they turn to. It might just be Jake Browning.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't put this in the news, but I mean they signed Mike White and
Mike White.
Mike White and an old Penn State quarterback. I can't remember the name right now, to the practice squad. So it's like that's oh, Sean Clifford, that's who it was.
Mm,
They're that's basically their answer, in hopes. So it's Jake Browning, please, like, do the best you can.
yeah, exactly.
Um
It's tough sledding.
yeah, it is. So going into our next piece of news, actually, I'll rope these two pieces of news together because it relates to the Bengals. So if you didn't watch the Sunday night game, JJ McCarthy suffered a high ankle sprain, and they're already ruling him out for week 3. So you know what that means, Woo? And they play Cincinnati. We get Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
The matchup we
must see
all thought
TV.
we were gonna get, right? And ooh, to top things off on the Viking side, no Aaron Jones, baby. Aaron Jones
It
is
basically looked like Aaron Jones hasn't been out there all season. He's been incredibly inefficient and honestly very disappointing because I took him in a few dynasty startup drafts I had this summer, especially in drafts where I was kind of looking towards the future and not necessarily to compete right away. So I was drafting him in spots where I was thinking, mid-season I can get some great value for him. And I think right now I could probably get a high five for Aaron Jones.
Yeah, you definitely can only get a high five. But I will say, with this injury, I'm kind of excited to see what Jordan Mason has, because if we think back to that week 1 game against Chicago where they were struggling, it was it wasn't then until they turned the ball or started handing the ball off to Jordan Mason and he was ripping off chunk plays did they really start to kind of get back into that game against Chicago and then ultimately win. And they're playing the Bengals too, who has a Swiss cheese defense. Like I would be very encouraged if I had Jordan Mason on my team to play him, and he may
Oh
be
yeah.
someone that I might put on a DFS ticket this week. That
Yeah,
just to get some value.
that's a great
Um,
call.
so that's one thing, I guess, the silver lining in the Aaron Jones injury, that you could look forward to.
Yeah.
Um,
Carson Wentz might look like the next coming too with this Kevin
yes,
O'Connell offense.
hey, listen, I I've seen Kevin O'Connell do it with less, like with Jaron Hall and like Nick Mullins and dudes like that. So like who know, I wouldn't rule it out that Carson Wentz actually looks like the Carson Wentz of old at some point,
I put
during this
100
game.
fab on him in a dynasty league.
Yeah, why
100
not?
fab.
Why not? Because like just say it works. Because and the other thing, like with McCarthy and this high ankle sprain, it's like most injury experts, when they look into high ankle sprains, it's either you miss no time or it's 3 weeks, you know what I mean? So if they already ruled him out for this week, I could totally see this being like a multi-week, um you know where multi-week injury where he's out and you have to lean on Carson Wentz for multiple weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
So um, another big injury that came out. Commanders Jaden Daniels suffered a knee sprain versus the Packers. and that has put his week 3 status in doubt. I totally missed this for some
Mm,
reason, but then I started to see the play where it was kind of towards the end of the game where he got kind of crunched, and speculation that it could be a PCL strain and he could potentially come out in a knee brace and try to play, but another team right here, Woo, that is potentially on the downswing, because of their star quarterback getting injured, right?
yeah, that'd be scary hours for Washington. He's the heart and soul of that franchise at the moment. So but that'd be it for Washington. Last year the big conversation coming into this year was, Jaden Daniels and the Commanders didn't beat any quarterbacks last year. So people are trying to put an asterisk next to that season that they had and that incredible season that they had. So you were hoping to start this year pretty hot, and you ran into a buzzsaw of the Packers last week, and that game looked a lot closer than it actually was. The Packers destroyed them, but so these
I mean,
early
and this week they play the Raiders, like,
yeah.
and the Raiders, like, not for nothing, like, the Chargers did beat the Raiders by multiple scores, but that defense looked tough. Max Crosby was feasting
Yeah.
on that offensive line. So, like, I wouldn't, like, if he goes out there, like, I don't know, like, he could get, like, put
I
in a
think they
pretty
they
bad
should
spot.
be extra cautious with him. I would hope that they are.
Yeah. Uh, so that's, also all these guys, I mean, obviously Burrow, he's out. You don't have to worry about it, but, and Aaron Jones, but, Daniels, you definitely have to monitor, and, kind of see what happens, watch the practice reports, but, and make sure you have yourself a backup plan. You know what I mean? And you're probably going, we'll talk about waivers in a second, but you're probably going to have to go hard this week because there are, the Joe Burrow managers that have lost Joe Burrow, someone the JJ McCarthy manager also, and then this guy right here, I forgot to mention this one, Justin Fields sustained a concussion in the loss versus the Bills. Aaron Glenn has said that it would be hard to start Fields if he doesn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday this week, and I totally get that. So there's another manager right there, that you'd have to consider. So I think if you want a quarterback this week, you got to go hard in the paint to get him.
Yep, I will be doing so, unfortunately. But yeah, no, you got to make sure, especially if you're someone like me who lost Burrow, or you're going to be missing out on possibly Jaden Daniels and with Justin Fields or McCarthy. Like, you have to make sure you get somebody like a starting quarterback who has potential to put up solid fantasy points to keep your week alive. Like, you need that. You cannot miss an opportunity to do so.
Yeah. So and I know that you were double checking kind of the beat reporters for the Jets. So, what's the vibe right now on the Fields concussion?
Yeah, so what I saw was, definitely that Glenn quote. We're gonna have to see what he does tomorrow, as well as on Thursday. Other things I've seen is, you know, based off that concussion, like it didn't look like a crazy hit on when he got it. So maybe he might be all right. I also wouldn't be surprised if they took him out of that game just because it was basically over. And there was really no point in keeping him out there during that game. I would prefer that they be cautious with it, even though I feel like the season's over already. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But just for Justin Fields' personal health, I would prefer that they just don't force him out there.
Yeah, it's crazy how the NFL treats us, huh? Week 2
It's
and the
not even
season's
just the
already over.
NFL. It's a certain team in Florham Park.
Yeah, that is also true. They don't treat their fans right.
No.
All right, so we're gonna roll into the waiver wire pickups for week 2. I got 3 names. Wu has 2 names. I'm gonna try to blitz mine really quickly. First one I'm gonna give you is Romeo Dobbs. So this one is strictly off of the Thursday night game where Jaden Reed broke his collarbone and was out of that game pretty early. But Dobbs in that matchup had 5 targets, played 74% of the snaps, but he did catch a touchdown. I do think now with the consolidation of potential options in Green Bay, I think Dobbs actually kind of elevates to a really good pickup here. They're going to play Cleveland this week, but when you think about the options that Love has now, you take out Freed and you take out Watson, who's been hurt with the ACL. Really, it's Dobbs, Golden, Wicks, and
And
Tucker
Golden's
Kraft.
been basically a non-factor.
I was going to say, and Golden's been kind of going through the rookie struggles, so you can already kind of put him underneath Dobbs. Uh, I probably like if we're going off of recency bias and things like that, Kraft is probably like the number one option,
Right.
which is totally fine. But I think there's plenty of work to still go around, and I think Dobbs is your next best option. So I'm trying to see if I can find the percentage that he is in leagues. He is can't find it right now. I'll
Let's
get that
see.
later.
I
But
have him on one of my rosters. Oh, I
do
got it
you
right here. He is
24% of leagues he's rostered,
yeah.
so he is definitely out there. And if you're someone who's in need of wide receivers, I would go hard in the paint on Romeo Dobbs. Um,
Yeah, it's
ne-
kind of weird. I feel like the Packers over the last couple years, it almost feels like they like game plan a single game for a certain wide receiver, and then next week they change it.
yeah,
I just feel like that's how it's been going the last
I
couple
think I
years.
think they've been able to do that because they have so many like options to go through, and now they're down two wide receivers. It's like we just got to go to our best guy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I think their best receiver right now is Romeo Dobbs.
I'm in
Yeah,
on that.
you know. Uh, next one, another receiver I'm going to give you is Troy Franklin, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, and I just want to. This is like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Like, week one, Troy Franklin only played 59% of the snaps. He did get 6 targets, which was good, and 44 yards. So, not anything worth even considering. But then this past week against Indy, plays 83% of the snaps. So he gets a major jump up. He gets 9 targets, catches 8 of them, 89 yards, and a touchdown. Like, I don't know if this is the fluke or not, but Frank. It seems like Franklin has kind of taken that year two leap. He was the uh, rookie wide receiver out of Oregon last year, where he was after kind of like the big names. He was someone who was kind of a sneaky play that people were willing to kind of plant their flag in, and he went to Denver, and didn't really do much at all, and kind of felt like people had wrote him off. So it's really nice to see that he's starting to kind of really work into this Denver Broncos offense. I will say, however, they are going to play the Chargers this week, who have, I mean, if you didn't watch that Monday night game, there was a stifling defensive performance
Yeah.
that they had. So that makes me a little bit nervous. But just for the longevity of Troy Franklin, I think he's worth a pickup for future match, because I mean, like, the week after they play the Bengals, and it could just be a red light green light action where you put in the claim for him, sit him this week against the Chargers, and then you fire him up against Cincinnati and he has a good game.
Yeah, I'm willing to say it might not be a fluke. I'm definitely willing to entertain that,
Okay.
especially because we saw the jump in targets, which is nice. And even his week one amount of targets was pretty solid, especially with how how dominant Cortland Sutton has been for that target share last year. So I was kind of expecting Cortland Sutton to kind of just run away with this target share for this year. And Sutton had a terrible day on Sunday, and it's not like the Broncos played somebody like a Pat Surtain, even though that would never happen, where he was shadowing Cortland Sutton all day, and that's kind of why he got shut down. They played the Colts. I mean, Travarius Ward isn't a bad corner by any stretch of the means, so I don't want to sit here and say that, but it's not like they had a top dude that was just shadowing Cortland Sutton all day,
No.
and they just couldn't get him the ball.
And
Like
even
that's
still,
not what
they
happened.
they 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 put up 28 points, so it wasn't like they weren't scoring.
Exactly. So that's why I'm willing to say it might not be a fluke, and he's someone I have a claim on for sure.
Yeah, love that. And then last one I have is Jawan Johnson, tight end for the New Orleans Saints. If you didn't pick him up last week, this will be the last chance that you have to pick him up, because after this, I think he's going to be on someone's roster for the rest of the year.
Yep.
Week one, I think through 2 weeks, actually, he leads all tight ends in targets. He had 11 in week one, 9 in week two, so he's got 20 total targets. Week one was a good was prob actually they were both pretty good. He had more yards in week one, but he had the touchdown last week, which was an incredible catch by him. If you haven't seen that, I encourage you to go and look that one up because
Yeah.
it was like that was it just shows off how sneaky athletic Jawan Johnson like truly is. And with this team and it's Spencer Rattler being the starting quarterback, very rarely I feel is he going to be able to work on getting this ball the deep passing routes to like Rashid Shaheed or Chris Olave. He seems very comfortable with Jawan Johnson, hence the 20 targets through 2 weeks. So he's 52% rostered in leagues right now. I would still at least check your waivers for Jawan Johnson to see if he's there. And if he is, this is probably your last chance to get him.
Yeah, no, you got to follow the target numbers there. I mean, 20 targets through 2 weeks is absurd. Even though it's a terrible Saints offense, clearly they can be somewhat competitive. They were flirting with a win against the 49ers on Sunday. So, and also with, was it Carolina week one or Arizona? One of
Arizona.
the,
It was
yeah,
Arizona.
Arizona. So, I mean, as bad as we expect them to be, they are 0-2, but their games weren't exactly blowouts and they were somewhat in it. So, if Jawan Johnson's going to continue on this target shred, he's someone you have to be, at least having on your roster for a stash. But I think there's definitely an argument there to be starting him on a week to week basis. It doesn't have to be matchup based.
Yep. And then next 3 weeks for him is at Seattle, at Buffalo, and then home against the Giants. So a couple of favorable matchups and a tough one sandwiched in between, but definitely someone worth firing up.
Right.
But all right, well, give me your waiver wire pickups for this week.
First one's personal, but I think this also
I think it
applies
is a good
to,
one
I think
overall.
it can apply to other people for sure. It's going to be Daniel Jones, the quarterback 2 through 2 weeks. Let me say
Yeah.
that again. The quarterback two through two
Can
weeks.
can I also just say the nickname Indiana Jones just
Oh,
goes so hard,
it's
and
awesome. I love
I'm
it.
all here for it to call
Oh,
him Indiana Jones.
Indy, baby. Let's go. So reason why it's personal, mentioned earlier, lost Joe Burrow. So I have a considerable amount of fab on him. I already told Malik, don't laugh at me tomorrow when that waiver
I
goes
get it.
through,
I get it.
because it's just hilarious to think that I'm putting so much fab on Daniel Jones. But here we are. So yeah, gonna be he's got to be a name you have to look at, especially if you're a Joe Burrow manager, JJ McCarthy, Justin Fields, Jaden Daniels. We just ran through all those injuries, and now this is a big week for people who have quarterbacks that went down. So you got to be in on some of these names. I think Daniel Jones is the best one. They play even if you're just looking for a 1 week matchup kind of thing. In the event that Jaden Daniels is out for a week, let's say they play Tennessee this week, and I think that's a great matchup for him. They don't have a ton of playmakers on defense. He also just put up 30 points on the Denver defense that is supposed to be the best defense in the NFL. So I think he might be matchup immune. That offense is clicking. Jonathan Taylor is running the ball really well, which also makes Daniel Jones' life so much easier. He obviously has taken a liking to Tyler Warren. He's had some consistent targets throughout the weeks. Michael Pittman's had some good weeks as well. So Daniel Jones is the quarterback play for me on the waiver wire. And then my last one, a little bit more of a stash, not something that I'm, necessarily dying to get, just based off of 2 weeks, but it's going to be Hunter Renfrow out in Carolina. He put up, I have his stat line right here. This past week, he was the wide receiver 8 in fantasy on the week. 7 catches on 9 targets, only 48 yards, but he scored twice. So like that, yes,
Yeah.
it was a great fantasy week. Not something I'm like itching to, be putting in my starting lineup next week, but if Xavier Legette doesn't really, make some sort of presence in this offense, if Jalen Coker doesn't make some sort of presence as the second receiving option for the Carolina offense, somebody's going to have to step into that role. And Hunter Renfro's, been around the league. He's one of John Gruden's favorite players. I love that Hard Knocks clip where they got the impersonator of John Gruden. He brings him in. He's like Hunter Renfro, like I love that guy, or whatever he says. But just like he's just someone who can be super reliable, especially around the line of scrimmage. I think this can be a positive player for someone like Bryce Young, who, yes, had some good weeks last year and a lot of hype going into this year, but hasn't necessarily, we haven't seen that just yet. And it's still early. I'm not going to play my flag and say it's not going to happen, but it's guys like Hunter Renfrow who can make his job easier. So if he takes a liking to Hunter Renfrow, I think it could be a PPR machine.
Yeah, I just looked at Legette's past 2 games and they are god awful.
Yeah.
Like so bad. I didn't even realize how bad it was. Like for week one,
I think he had one target last on Sunday.
no. He had one catch. He had 8 targets.
Oh,
8. He was one catch for -2 yards off of 8 targets, and he played 80% of the snaps.
yeah.
Like, and I want to say Bryce Young did not have like a bad game. You
Yeah,
know
he
what I
was
mean?
top
Like
10.
it was a
He threw the
pretty
ball 55 times.
yeah. I mean yeah, 328, three touchdowns in a pick. So out of throwing the ball 55 times, Leggett gets eight targets and only catches one of them for negative yardage. Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry, he's cooked. We might have to just stick a fork in him
Yeah.
and call it. But so I love the Renfro pick, and with that also being said, um I know Coker might be worth a stash. Probably not this week, maybe next week because
Hmm.
they put him on the short term IR for I want to say it was a, a knee or I'd have to check that later. But the reason why they had to call Hunter Renfro back was because of how good Jalen Coker played. I just want to remind everyone that, like they were very invested in Jalen Coker and his talent. So I don't see, I could see maybe Leggett being the one who takes the back seat and then they roll, Tet McMillan, Hunter Renfro, and then Coker
Right.
when he does come back. So yeah, that's a great call. I like that one. All right. So now we're gonna get into our the glory and the gory here. Starting off with the quarterbacks. Number one quarterback on the week, Jared Goff
Mr.
had
50 points.
yeah, Mr. 50 points, 334 yards passing, five touchdowns. If you had him, you absolutely loved it. If you played against him, like myself, who had the combo stack with someone else we'll talk about later, you hated it. Hated it so much, but it's good to see. I think a lot of us were scared week one with how Detroit played against Green Bay, and I know a lot of us here, us in particular, also said like maybe that's just Green Bay is that good, and they had an opportunity to really take it to the Bears, and they didn't take the foot off the gas pedal.
Yeah, I'm calling this the double bird game. With Ben
Yes,
Johnson being over in Chicago now.
I get it.
I got a stat for you, Malik. Can you name the two quarterbacks in NFL history who have scored more 50-point games than Jared Goff?
Two quarterbacks in NFL history have scored
So I
more 50
believe
point
Jared Goff
games.
has started a game where they scored 50 points 4 or 5 times. I don't remember the exact number, but there are only two quarterbacks who have done it more.
I'm gonna guess Manning.
Right on one,
Okay, and I'm gonna go Brady.
right on two.
Wow. Okay,
That's pretty good company, and I believe he's tied with Drew Brees.
and he's tied with Drew Brees. They have.
So it's not bad.
Can we get Jared Goff a Super Bowl
Dude,
win?
seriously,
I
he's so
think I
fun to
think
root for.
I think a Super Bowl win would actually kind of cement him as a
Hall of
Hall of
Fame.
Fame quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean, I would hope so, but we'll have to see. Russell Wilson. This was the
it's insane top 10.
this is the Russell. Yeah, like some of these names that you're going to hear in this top 10, you're going to be like, I thought he stopped playing football, but
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, I remember us talking about how Brian Dable went to upper management about playing Jackson Dart over Russell Wilson. And I don't know if Russ heard it
The
or,
moon ball
or,
was on
or not, but
fire.
oh my God, there was one play. I think it was in the fourth quarter when he just dropped back and sent a moon ball to Malik Neighbors, and
Go up and get it, big
oh my
boy.
God, and he connected and scored the touchdown. That right there lost me a week in a fantasy football matchup. But it was great to see. You know what I mean?
Oh,
It was like the Russ of old. Back and slinging the ball around the yard, and I guess the question really is
is the
is
Dallas defense that bad?
right. Is Dallas's defense that bad, or did Russ really is starting to turn a corner and really getting comfortable in this offense? We'll have to see because hey, the Chiefs come to town. You got to play.
Who's
Uh,
0-2? They're hungry.
exactly. Sneakily, I know it's early. I can't. Is it crazy if I lean the Giants on that one?
Wow. I hope
Not
not, because
even
I
not.
took the Chiefs in a pool that I'm in, a survivor pool.
Oh, you
There's
did.
no way they start 0-3. There's no way.
If they start 0-3, like there is panic in the streets.
Oh my God,
But
yeah.
if there was a team who could like stick with them and gut it out, like listen, hammer the under on that game, like because there's no way Patrick Mahomes is going to have a great game against this defense, and there's probably no way Russ has a great game against Kansas City's offense, but it's just going to be who can hold whatever offense to less points.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't know. Well, I don't know. But I'm just saying it's early. things are
I
fluid
guess I
and
just
it
I
could
can't
change.
envision Patrick Mahomes being 0-3 to start a year. I can't see it.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Did you have any other more comments on Russell Wilson? Yeah,
No, not on
he's
Russell
someone
Wilson
else actually who's available on waivers as well. Like, are you willing to take the stab? He's rostered only in 13% of leagues. You know, I mean, maybe because he's
Part of me
plays.
wants to sit here and say yes. However, I'll start with my personal situation. So I need somebody week 3, like 100%.
Yes.
And then, from there, I can make a decision. So I just like Daniel Jones matchup better against Tennessee rather than the Kansas City matchup. Also, I feel like we got a few games, obviously nothing to this magnitude, but we got a couple good Russell Wilson weeks last year. And did we sit at the end of the year and say, damn, Russell Wilson played well this year?
No,
Did
not
we
at
did
all.
we ever sit back and so that's why I'm leaning no. I mean, nobody said that about Daniel Jones, so you could throw that point right back in my face. But I mean, he's got the weapons. Malik Neighbors is a dog. Tyron Tracy's been a little shaky, but Cam Scatterbo, looked pretty good. He scored this
Wandale.
week. Wandale, it was incredible. So I mean, there's pieces there for him to succeed. Obviously, Brian Daboll's at least I think he's a good coach. I think he's
Yeah.
just been thrown into a terrible situation.
He's coaching for his job basically
Yeah,
at this point.
but to answer the question, no, I don't think I'm willing to put any fab on Russell Wilson. If he were to make it through waivers again, maybe I take a stab on him. I don't know if I'm willing to stash though. I don't know.
Yeah, roster spots are definitely finite, so I
Yeah.
don't think I'd do that. Number three, Lamar Jackson, still hanging in the top five, 225, 4 touchdowns, only 2 carries for 13 yards. I think that was just a product of them beating up on the Browns and them not really playing their full game plan. So
Hmm.
I wouldn't worry about that. And it's great to see that on a day where he didn't get a lot of rushing work, he still was able to give you 4 passing touchdowns,
Yeah.
which is great. Drake May, this one was like if you needed someone to kind of stream this week, Drake May was definitely a good player to throw off the waiver wire in 230, 219 of 23, 230 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. And, he had 10 carries for 31 yards and a touchdown. So that rushing touchdown is probably what puts him in the top five here.
I think Drake May might be startable on a week to week basis based off of his rushing upside.
I was just about to ask you that question. Hold on, let me give you their uh next 4 weeks, and you tell me if it's startable worthy or not. Home against Pittsburgh, home against Carolina, at Buffalo, at New Orleans.
Pittsburgh, I want to say yes because Justin Fields
Oh
just
my
tore
God,
them
yeah.
apart.
I was yeah,
Carolina, yes.
and Seattle had kind of had their way with them too. Like they
Yeah.
ended up winning that game, but I'm pretty sure Seattle put up like 28 points. So
Yeah.
Carolina, yes, it's like the worst defense in the league.
Buffalo,
Buffalo could be tricky, but however, Lamar did dice them up. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
it's
So
possible.
it is possible. And then New Orleans probably the second worst defense or second
Yeah.
worst team in the NFL.
My only argument against Buffalo would be their defensive front is mean, and the Patriots' offensive line is bad. It's really bad.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
made
that
Miami
would.
look pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say that might be the only deterrent.
So I'd
And
go three
so
out of four
a
there,
3 out of 4 though, that's not bad.
and
You know what I mean?
confidently 3 out of 4.
And you could probably find someone to stream that week. He plays Buffalo, and then you just fire him back up to play New Orleans. So
Yeah, not to
I
spoil
like that.
anything, but I mentioned some trade conversations earlier. Drake May has been a part of them.
Oh no, not
So
not D1 Patriot
that's
hater
yeah,
Woo
that's
over
how you
here.
know things are going bad. I'm trading for a Patriot. Christ.
And then Woo's waiver wire pickup of the week here. Daniel Jones rounds out our top five.
My guy.
24-34, 316 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 passing touchdown, and then he had 6 carries and the rushing touchdown as well. Listen, I am all for the Daniel Jones coming back to relevancy here, but stay out of the end zone as a rusher. I'm a big hater of Daniel Jones vulturing these rushing touchdowns from Jonathan Taylor, and it needs to stop. I had to speak up. Someone has
Well,
to.
listen,
It's going to be
if
me.
he's on my team, they're gonna stop. So honestly, you're welcome to future Malik. You're welcome.
Yes, I need it, but again, still very encouraging to see. Kind of Daniel Jones back into relevancy here and finding success here in Indianapolis. Again, I love the nickname Indiana Jones, and they're on the road to play Tennessee, who has had kind of a poor defense so far to start the year. So
Right.
fire him up. get them ripping. Um, so just before we move on to the next category, Woo, are there any quarterbacks outside of the top five that are worth talking about? Pretty much the same people here, or
One
what?
that I want to mention because there was a large conversation last year of is this guy good in fantasy? It's Patrick Mahomes, clearly the best quarterback in the NFL. But when it comes to fantasy, for a very long time, he was not startable. After Tyreek Hill left, they really leaned on that defense. They were running the ball. They were scoring. I mean, they were winning games by one possession. They weren't putting up 30 plus on a week to week basis how they used to. So Patrick Mahomes was basically unstartable. And I think he's trending towards back being startable on a week to week basis. Not that it was like, you're drafting Patrick Mahomes and you're like, okay, yeah, like he has to be in my starting lineup. But last year and a little bit of the year before, like it got to a point where it's like, I'm losing these weeks because I'm playing him. He's putting up maybe 10 fantasy points. And yes, the name screams you have to start him. But, if you're trying to win in fantasy, sometimes it's not always about having the best NFL player. Like it can be a completely different game. But I think Mahomes might be back to being in a position where you can start him on a week to week basis. Xavier Worthy's going to be coming back. Rashee Rice is come back in the next 4 weeks. So and he's also been running the ball a little bit. Last week he had
I was
seven
just,
carries for 66 yards. Like
I
that's
had,
another dimension to his game we haven't seen.
I have it already pulled up. Do you know that he is the leading rusher out of all quarterbacks in the NFL right now?
I
More
did
than
not know
Josh
that.
Allen, more than Lamar Jackson, and honestly, he has 25 more rushing yards than the second best person in Justin Fields. Like
Wow.
he's like kind of really, and I want to
And he
say it
scored on
was
the ground both weeks.
yes, and I think it was during the I want to say it was during the Chargers game. No. I'm sorry. It was during um their last game where who'd they play last week? Why am I blanking? Oh, the
Chargers.
Philly. No,
Oh,
Philly. Where they had mentioned or he had mentioned to Brady and whoever was the commentators that he kind of saves the rushing for the playoffs or right before the playoffs because he doesn't want everyone to kind of know hit that facet of his game.
right.
And now he kind of feels like he has to kind of bust it out early because they're playing from behind so much and they really need a spark. So he's really kind of gone to his legs a lot earlier than ever. And I wonder if he keeps going through the rest of the year.
Yeah. Listen, if he's going to add that dimension to his game, he get him on my
That'd
team.
be insane.
That's another trade target for me. And since you brought up his name, I have to comment about this Tom Brady nonsense of being
Oh,
allowed to be an
I
announcer,
thought you
and
were
then
going
all
to
of
talk
a
about
sudden
Justin
last
Fields
night he's sitting in the freaking press box for the
with a
Raiders with the
headset
coaches
on.
with a headset on. How is that allowed?
Ah,
How? And listen,
when you're the GOAT, I guess
D1
you can make
Patriots
the
hater,
rules.
hate Tom Brady with all my life. In no world should that be allowed. It has nothing to do with Tom Brady. It has everything to do with the fact that a analyst and a TV analyst who is calling these games, who is in meetings with in production meetings with these teams, with the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Talking
And
with the
now he get
players.
exactly, and now he gets to go sit in the coaching box with the Raiders, and not for nothing, but the Raiders are in the same division as the Chiefs. So, there's got to be some sort of conflict of interest here, and I cannot believe that this is like still allowed. I cannot believe it.
Yeah, yeah, he should have to pick one or the other. But when you're the goat, you get to make the rules. So hey,
Whatever.
moving on to the running back section of our glory section, we have Jonathan Taylor, our running back one of the week, 165 rushing yards, two receptions, also with a receiving touchdown. So he did get in the end zone that way. Did not get in the rushing category. That is because Daniel Jones vultured that from him. Thank you very much. But this offense is humming.
Yeah,
I don't know.
something's
I don't.
working here.
Something's working here, and
And
you
again,
let
against a very good Denver defense.
yes, and I don't see it. I think Jonathan Taylor's going to probably have another RB one week against Tennessee because of how poor they are. You know
Oh
what I
my
mean?
God,
Like
yeah.
fire him up again. RB two of the week, Devon Achane. 11 carries for 30 yards, which is not good. However, that's not the case always with Devon Achane. 10 targets, 8 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. God, I hope they're able to hold this thing together. Does it not feel like the Dolphins are like starting to fall apart at the
Oh my
seams
God. I
right
feel like
now?
they already are.
Like, and I know if they finally do like completely fall apart and McDaniel's gets fired, like it's over for Devon Achane because like that whole thing gets blown up. And it's a totally different coaching regime that, you know, the Devon Achane's a small dude, you know what I mean? So it's not like they're gonna come in and be like, "Yep, this is our RB1 here." Like they could totally see him as a gadget guy, and the value that you thought you had with Devon Achane just literally disintegrates in front of your own eyes.
100%. And, you have to think Miami's already busting at the seams. It's just like that Patriots game, they returned that punt for a touchdown, or I forget if it was a punt or a kickoff, but either way, they return it for a touchdown and then immediately give up a touchdown off the kick
Right
return
back.
off of that score. So it's just like if that doesn't scream this is over, I don't know what does.
Yeah. So TBD, you definitely monitor that one with HN. If you can try to get out in front of it and trade them earlier, and recoup some value, then
Right.
maybe try and do that. But it's definitely scary hours to someone who's a Devon HN manager.
Yeah.
Next, James Cook looks amazing. Like, I know we all talked about, the touchdowns not being a sticky stat. And, James Cook is someone who was totally going to regress, but, James Cook basically told us to, go screw,
Yeah.
in 2 weeks, he's already got 3 touchdowns. So he is well on his way back to the 16 rushing touchdowns that he did have. And
Yeah. It helps when the team you're playing against can't tackle either.
it's also true. Again, if you have not seen his touchdown run where he absolutely jukes the entire Jets defense, please go watch that. That
It's
was
almost like they
phenomenal
threw Barry Sanders out there for a play.
for one play. Um, RB4, here he is again, Javonte Williams, 18 carries, 97 yards and a touchdown. But here's the other piece, right? 7 receptions, 6 catches, or sorry, 7 targets, 6 receptions, for 33 yards. And it's like, is Javante back, Will?
I think he's back, and I think he's option number two on this Cowboys offense, and not George Pickens. I
Which is
think that
scary.
I think I can firmly sit here and say that because if you're going to get as many carries as he is, there's no competition with Miles Sanders, there's no competition with Jadon Blue, and to sit here, even though he only had 33 yards, but in a PPR league, that's 6 points off of catches.
Yeah.
So
25 opportunities. Like, who says no to that? You know what I
exactly,
mean? Like, if he's gonna get that receiving work and the opportunities to get dump offs from Dak like that, like how do you not play him?
people are starting to ask, is he a league winner this year, and is he going to be in that category at the end of the year? He might be. He might
Yeah,
be.
I
He
I
was being drafted in the ninth round.
I think I need to see more before I'm
Okay.
willing to say that. You know what I mean? Again, we're 2 weeks into the fantasy season, so everything is very fluid, and
True.
things can always change on a dime, right? Like his
But if
next
this
3 game.
Cowboys offense is going to keep firing like it is, even if they're just a bad team, even if you're going to have that many opportunities on a team that's going to score this much, jeez.
Yeah, his next 3 matchups are at Chicago, home against Green Bay, and at the Jets. So
Green Bay is the only bad
three.
matchup.
Would you say the Green Bay's the only bad one?
Yeah. Chicago just let up 50 points. I mean, the Jets defense can't tackle. I mean, again, I know it's only 2 weeks in, but going based off what I've seen already, I mean, sure, specifically with the Jets, yes, I'm all upset about them, and yes, they kept that week 1 game close against Pittsburgh. They also still let up 36 points, and you just saw what James Cook did off of 21 carries. He took one to the house that had no business being taken to the house. So that's a great matchup for Javonte Williams in itself.
Yeah,
And then Chicago, they just let up 50 points. I mean, I don't know.
yeah. And last to finish out our top five, we have Christian McCaffrey. I think he was top five last week, definitely. So he's still in the top five. 13 carries, 55 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and then he always gives it to you in the passing game. 7 targets, six receptions, 52 yards, and a touchdown. So 3 total touchdowns on the week. I'm if he had kind of gotten more yardage, he easily could have been the running back one. So definitely someone to keep an eye out going forward. I think the first half and probably even the first 3 quarters were very shaky, for Mac Jones, and then it was really in that fourth quarter he really started to settle in and made some great throws, and got his playmakers involved, which is very encouraging to see. And next week McCaffrey takes on the Cardinals and the Jags, so two great matchups, and full confidence as long as he stays healthy, this dude's gonna
Yeah.
rip.
Seems to be back to his old self.
Yeah. Um, so before we finish out with the running backs, one I have to bring him up.
That was gonna be the guy I brought
Yeah,
up, so I'm glad you're doing it.
I had to bring him up. Welcome back, Ken Walker. Panic in the streets. I was one of them, but we're back, baby. We're
Does
so
it bother
back.
you that Charbonnet still got more carries,
No,
even
because
though he killed him in the yards game?
that was going to be my only thing. If Charbonnet is going to take more touches, that I am totally fine with. If Kenneth Walker can be this efficient, and this fresh as a runner, and I think that is literally the plan that Seattle's
Right.
trying to do. You know what I mean? Is give Charbonnet more touches, and Ken Walker, when he uses his touches, they're going to be highly efficient. So he had 13 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown. Not much in the receiving game. Totally fine. The touchdown definitely, really helps his day. But I'm hoping that in the weeks to come, maybe he gets more, the 51% as opposed to the 49% of the work. But if this is how they're going to keep him healthier and he's going to be more efficient, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. The only other name I want to mention quickly is just Ramondre Stevenson. Was the RB6 on the week.
Yep.
5 targets, 5 receptions. Is Travion Henderson trending in the wrong direction? I know I'm being serious. Like, week one, it was, Travion Henderson got a bunch of targets. I don't remember the name or the number off the top of my head. I can look while I
I
talk
gotcha.
here, but
I gotcha.
um but
He
the
had
thing that I
six
saw,
targets.
okay, yeah. And then this week,
He had two,
yeah. So I mean, again, only 2 weeks in, but the thing that I saw week one was the dude cannot block. He can't block. And
which
is
is
that
crazy
going
too, because that was the big thing that we all loved about him, was that
right?
he in pass pro was the best rookie running back in this entire class. I honestly think it's I think a lot of people, and this is bigger than the Travion Henderson. I think everyone is like hitting the panic button on all of these rookies, right? Like think about all the rookies. Genty had a bad week this week. Omarion
Hampton,
Hampton is scary right now because of he had a fourth quarter fumble that looks bad. Caleb Johnson is even scarier because he let the ball go all the way into the end zone. They score a touchdown on it, which, not running back related, but, he's trying to get work to get onto the field. And that's just a terrible look right
can't be
there for
messing up those
him. You can't be doing
opportunities.
that. You have Henderson right now, with this issue. Like, it's a crazy, I hate to say it, but it's crazy that Quinshon Judkins looks like the best one right now out of all of them. And
Dude,
he,
I'm excited for him to finally get on the field, man. I've been dying to have another take that I got right.
I mean, he did. Listen, he got 10 carries yet. This last week against the Ravens. He
Yeah,
was 10 carries for 61 yards. He was 6.1 yards a clip. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, obviously, super, super early, and we still don't know what the legal or sorry, NFL repercussions are going to be. But like, I think back to my whole point is that I think everyone is hitting the panic button on these rookies, and obviously, if there's someone that you still have your belief in, like me personally, like you know I'm fully have confidence in Omarion Hampton, and I think a lot of people are going to over exaggerate that fourth quarter fumble that he had. So if you want to go and trade for any of these guys, now's your time right now.
traded
And,
for Hampton today. It
yeah,
was Dynasty League, but
hey,
panic
absolutely
sell,
though,
panic
it
sell.
you have to. So, um, any other running backs here that we're talking? Obviously, Bijan had an amazing game Sunday night. Wish he scored, and then Gibbs has got it back to his normal self.
Chuba, my guy, staying in the top 10. That's all I'm asking
Yeah,
for.
just keep sniffing around it, keep hovering around. So,
Consistency is the key.
all right, let's move into the wide receiver section.
It's got some interesting names on this
Uh,
list.
I mean, let's start with the man on the top who
Oh
just
yeah,
absolutely cratered me.
39 fantasy points.
39 fantasy points from Amon Ra, the sun god St. Brown. 10 targets, 9 receptions, 115 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Also had 2 carries for 7 yards.
Hat trick.
Um, mm, this was just an absolute rout by Detroit.
Oh, there's so
And
many words I could use. It's just not appropriate for
it,
this content here.
I think it's just every time I think of I I went back to and thinking about that game and then running it up. I just thought of Barstool Big Cat, and like I just could only imagine the Sunday he
Oh,
had
he's
watching
dead.
that game.
He's so dead. I was watching Wake Up Barstool this morning. He's dead. He's so
I
dead.
could totally see
All of
that.
Chicago, man, so down.
Yep. Malik Neighbors, we talked about this one when we were talking about Russ, but 13
Dog.
targets, 9 receptions, 167 yards. Like he is just a dog. Like,
That guy.
yeah. Speaking of dogs, Jamar Chase. This is probably.
14 catches.
Is it bad? Is it bad of me to say that this is probably the best game you're going to get all season from Jamar Chase?
I don't think you're wrong in saying that, unless Jake Browning throws him and it's like 20 plus targets a game, and it's
Yes.
just some of them just happen to work.
Right. 16 targets, 14 catches, 165 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, you're not going to see this for the foreseeable future with Joe Burrow being out, which is sad. Um,
I hope we're wrong though.
do you question here? Do you sell high on Jamar Chase right now?
Kinda, yeah. I mean,
Like, would you be like
it's
if you
so
had
hard
Jamar
to
Chase
let
on your
go of a
team,
guy
would you
like
be
that
willing to
though.
do that? Say,
I'd be wrestling with it. I wouldn't be able to do it this week.
if someone were to offer you, hold on, I'm gonna give you a good one.
Oh
If
God.
someone were to offer you Jamar, or sorry, you're giving Jamar Chase, and in return, you're taking Malik Neighbors. Are you taking that deal?
Mm, oh God. I, part of me wants to say yes, I would take the deal because you know what you were getting from Malik Neighbors going into this season, and clearly he's been performing pretty well over these two games. We don't know what Jamar Chase looks like with just Jake Browning, so you have no idea. I
Would you
mean,
would you trade Jamar Chase for CD Lamb?
yes, easily. I think I would do the Neighbors trade for Jamar Chase as well.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know what to expect out of Jake Browning. Not everybody's going to be the Jacksonville defense where you can throw 3 picks and still be in a game.
Would you do Jamar Chase for Puka?
I think I would. I think I would. Like it sounds ridiculous, but I don't know if it is.
It might. Listen, it hurts because you
It's
know
Jamar Chase, who's the
most.
101.
I was gonna say most people had the 101. When they took him.
I might have to hear
Um.
Steve's thoughts on this because he's the Jamar Chase manager. You took him at
Yeah.
the 101. I need
We
to
might
see because when you're actually in that situation, your mind's you're in a
racing
pretzel. You're in a pretzel.
mental pretzel.
Oh yeah.
Um. This next one. Hey, listen. Is he the wide receiver one? Roma Dunze,
Yes, he
like
is.
11 targets, 7 receptions, 128 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Right?
He
It
scored a
just
lot of touchdowns, which might not stick, but the target numbers and the yardages,
yeah. I was just gonna. I'm curious if what his week one usage was. He had 9 targets for 6 catches and 37 yards. So big jump from the week before, but he does have 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks. It just feels like Caleb is defaulting to him to
love it.
Dunze, you know what I mean, over DJ Moore, which is like it just seems like could we see a Cooper Cup situation where towards the end of the year Bears aren't in it and they're starting to work in their guys and they start to phase out DJ Moore and work it. Obviously Roma Dunze takes the wide receiver one mantle, but then we see a little Luther Burden,
Hmm.
maybe Colson Loveland. I don't know. As someone who is a dynasty manager at DJ Moore, I'm not panicking, but I'm starting to feel alarmed, I will
Yeah,
say.
the feelings are creeping.
Yeah. Wandale Robinson, right? I think this kind of goes along with the, Russ game. 10 targets, eight catches, 128 yard or 142 yards and a touchdown. Not much there. I think that playing the Dallas Cowboys, right?
Yeah,
We're gonna put this one under.
right.
Puka Nakua. So that's your top five. One name I do want to talk about, Puka Nakua. Back to back weeks. He had 130 yards receiving. This week he had a 45-yard carry for a touchdown that really helped him out. But then also still 9 targets, 8 catches, 91 yards and a no touchdown. But still getting it in the receiving game.
The amount of trade offers I received for Puka Nakua this morning in a dynasty league is like absurd, and
Yeah.
people are throwing the boat, and I can't do it.
Nope,
Can't do
can't
it.
do it. You can't do it because he's so good.
Yeah.
Anyone else in this top five? You want to obviously you talked about Hunter Renfro, right?
Yep.
He had
Troy
a great
Franklin
game.
as well.
Devontae Adams, 13 targets, huh?
Yeah, it's too bad he only caught six of them, but I have 106 yards and a touchdown. And then CeeDee Lamb, that's what we love to see. 9 catches, 11 targets,
Yep.
112 yards and a touchdown. I mean, that's all we ask for, CeeDee. Dad, keep throwing him the ball. So far, who has been more right about the Cowboys offense than myself and you?
Yeah. No.
Nobody.
Well, let's take the credit where
Maybe Skip
someone give us
Bayless.
the credit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. Oh my God, Skip is
Skip.
having problems right now. All right, let's finish up our glory section with the tight ends. Tucker Kraft, right? That was a Thursday night game, monster performance. Zach Ertz, and I kind of want to get your thoughts on this, right? Eight. We didn't really talk about this. He was also in the Thursday night game, but you know, with Austin Eckler going out with the Achilles tear, he was really someone who's going to be worked in the passing game. Could we see Zach Ertz really take another step forward, kind of in this pecking order, and be really like fantasy relevant and a must have on your roster on a week to week basis?
He may because of what we've seen out of Terry McLaurin so far. And I just want to pull
Also
up
true.
his game logs here. So week one, 4 targets, 2 catches, 27 yards, no touchdowns. This past week, 9 targets, 5 catches, 48 yards. We can chalk that up to Green Bay if we want, because we did see the target numbers jump from week one to week two. They got Vegas next week, and like you've mentioned already a couple times this episode, like Vegas defense, it's no slouch.
They're not a
And if
pushover.
Jaden Daniels is going to miss time, that's a problem for Terry McLaurin because he's a deep ball guy. Let's call a spade here. He's a deep ball guy. He's not someone who's working in between the numbers around the line of scrimmage. 10 yard outs, hitch routes, whatever you want to call it. So Tucker Kraft is that guy. I mean, it's not Tucker Kraft. Zach Ertz is that guy. He will work around the line of scrimmage. He's not going to be running deep, these deep routes where Jaden Daniels got to air it out. If Jaden Daniels gets in trouble, he can find Zach Ertz quickly. If they do have a backup step in, I don't even know who Washington's backup is.
The
But if
senator, baby,
the Senator,
Ben Sennett.
yeah. So when it comes, oh no, sorry, their quarterback backup. I'm saying if
My
uh
bad,
if
my
Jaden
bad.
Daniels doesn't play, let's
Hold
see
on,
who
I'll
it
find that
is.
for you right now.
I don't even know. It's Marcus Mariota. So
Jesus.
listen, if Marcus Mariota has to step in, Zach Ertz, nice safety blanket. We've talked about this with young quarterbacks and guys just getting used to an offense. That could be a nice safety blanket for you.
Yeah.
And outside of Terry McLaurin, unless I'm missing something here, there's not a ton of wide receivers on that team.
Debo.
Well, Debo, yeah, this is true. I did forget about
He
that.
did it. He did have a great game.
That was a swing and a miss for sure.
It's all right.
But Noah Brown, listen, what did Debo do this week? Where's his?
He had a good game. I think he had a better game than Terry did, fantasy wise.
Oh, 100%. Me and you had a better fantasy day
Man,
than
that's also true.
8 targets, 7 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, he does not have his rushing numbers on here. He must not have had any. But listen, I just think
No, he
Zach
didn't
Ertz
because I took him for over 4.5 rushing yards and he didn't even get it. So yes, no, he had no rushing work.
Yeah, so if Jaden Dale's going to miss any time, even if he doesn't miss time, I think Zach Ertz could be a good, nice streaming option on a week to week basis.
Absolutely. Um, Jake Ferguson, right? I
Bergie,
know you've always talked about him. 12 targets, man.
Dallas
Not
having 4 guys in the top 10 in each position. I mean,
crazy to see,
not a bad
but
look.
and they're 0-2
And they're on to.
with
No,
Terry.
no,
You're
no. They
sick.
beat the Giants.
Oh yeah, they did. Wow. For some
It didn't
reason,
feel like they did.
it didn't feel like it, right? But hey, it could be
But
worse with
12
Terry.
targets. I mean, we can chalk it up to the 77 points being scored in that game and
Yes,
overtime, but 12 targets. I mean, come on, he's a tight end.
right. Juwan Johnson, right? I talked about him. Nine targets. You go to just for tight ends, chase the targets. You know what I mean? Like look at these guys up
Opportunities.
here. Kraft had 7, Ertz had 8, Ferguson had 12. Chase the targets and good things happen.
Right.
And then just to round out our top 5, Trey McBride, 7 targets, 6 catches,
Something
78
about that
yards.
Arizona offense just doesn't look right.
No,
I can't put my finger on it. I don't know if it's Kyler Murray.
I
I don't know
was
if
just
it's the play
I was
calling.
gonna say, is it crazy for me to say that it's Kyler Murray and they need
I
to
don't think
just
it
get rid
is.
of him?
I don't think it is crazy to say, but is it actually? That I don't know. This is I think this is definitely a situation to be heavily taking a look at due to the fantasy the cost of drafting Trey McBride, the cost of drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, oh, man.
Yeah, I might need to
Turn it
sit down
around.
and watch every single
I do.
Kyler attempt from that
I
game
definitely need to
and
because
just
it's
look at
just
the
something
film.
I can't figure out.
Right. And then outside of the top five, uh, Tyler Warren, right? 7 targets, only had 4 catches for 79 yards. And then Travis Kelce, 4 catches, 61 yards and a touchdown. So could be heating up depending on to see what happens with Worthy. If Worthy's out, you could probably see more work for Kelce.
Oh, that was a mistype. He didn't have a touchdown because I was gonna say
Oh,
she should have had two touchdowns because did you see that drop?
no, I didn't see
Oh
it.
my God, guy was wide open. It was like a slant. I think they were on like the 7 yard line. It was a slant, right end zone, right in front of him. Has it in his hands, runs up his arm, ball gets put up in the air. It was an interception.
Oh God.
It was a walk-in touchdown.
They they might not have it. The
Travis
Chiefs,
Kelce might not have it.
yeah, Travis Kelce. This might be this is definitely his last year, and
Yeah,
it's not going to be as good as everyone hopes it's going to be.
yeah, he's gonna be living on a private island.
Yeah. All righty. Moving into the gory section. These are our poor
Womp.
performances, right? We'll blitz these ones, right? And if there's anyone really in particular that we're worried about, we'll call out. Jalen Hurts, right? This one we talked about before we hit record, right? Like, uh, crazy that Jalen Hurts could only pass for 101 yards and rush for 15 yards, and the Eagles still win.
Yep.
And he had a fumble, So, like, crazy stuff here. Fields, right? We know with the injury, but had a poor performance. McCarthy, this is a majority of. I know McCarthy had the injury, but still played most of the game, right? 11 to 21, 158 yards, 2 picks, 3 fumbles. With one fumble loss. Josh Allen only had 148 yards rushing and 60 yards, or sorry, 148 yards passing, 60 yards rushing. Was taken out with the broken nose for a little bit. And then Burrow, right? We know he didn't even play a full game and is out with the toe injury. But, obviously outside of, Burrow, is there anyone here that you're really concerned about?
Not too much. I wouldn't read too much into the Josh Allen one. That game was over halfway through the third quarter. There was really no need for him to be out as long as he was. So,
Yeah.
wouldn't read too much into that one. Really, the most concerning one is just Jalen Hurts because of who else it affects. AJ Brown, Devontae
Yeah.
Smith.
I was gonna
So
say we're gonna talk about them in the wide receiver section
yeah,
too.
but I
So
think long term, I'm not too worried about Jalen Hurts.
yeah. Running back section. Some of these names hurt, right? Like Ashton Genty
Yeah,
had 11. If as someone, I watched this entire game, every snap of this game, it felt like they did not want to commit to Genty, and there was a point in the game where game was still close, and had Seattle started to establish a run. There was one run where Genty had, and he absolutely ran over, Charger safety Aloe Gilman, and just made him look like a little boy. And I was like, oh boy, like here's
he's
the
here.
start, of the legend of Ashton Genty. And for some reason they decided not to, you know, third down, Zamir White's on the field, 2 minute warning, or 2 minute drill. They have Dylan Lowby playing
Why
running
draft him
back.
at the sixth pick?
I don't, yeah. Why draft him at the 6 picks? I have no idea, Will. You know what I mean? So maybe they're waiting to, because wasn't this the same thing with Bijan last year or his rookie year where
Yeah,
it was
that
like
was Arthur Smith though.
right, that is true. That is true. And here's Chip Kelly where, we
Yeah,
have full confidence in Chip Kelly, or at least we thought we did.
yeah,
So hopefully they unleash him soon because he needs to be unleashed.
facts.
Um, Chase Brown, right? I think this one's going to be a tough one. This is going to be could be what you see because of the loss of Joe Burrow.
And the worst part is it's not a matter of opportunities, it's how inefficient he's been because he's getting all
Yeah.
the opportunities. There's nobody else there. So
Right.
that's if there's anybody I'm very alarmed about, Chase Brown is on the top of that list.
Yeah. Aaron Jones with a tough game, but we know that led to the hamstring injury, right? He's on IR
Yeah.
for 4 weeks, so hopefully he gets better soon. Derrick Henry, 11 carries, 23 yards, and a fumble.
At
Is
one
this
point, I forget when I checked the game, but I think he had 7 carries for -5 yards or something ridiculous like that. And I was like, this got to be another Derrick Henry. No, there's no way that's him.
Yeah. Is that does that one concern you, or do you think that
No,
one
I
is
think Cleveland actually does have a very good defense. I don't think it should be to the extent of where Derrick Henry is running the ball for 11, 23 yards off of 11 carries. I say we flush that game, call it a day, and we're on to week 3.
sure? I will say the next two matchups for Derrick Henry though is home against Detroit and at Kansas City.
Yeah,
So two tough matchups, and then he gets the cakewalk that is known as the Houston Texans in
right.
week 5. So
Yeah,
just got to get through those two tough weeks, and then what is wrong with my mouse? There we go. Brees
Brees.
Hall, Brees Hall.
Not
This is
worried.
what. Not worried, huh?
No, because he's still getting all the opportunities.
Okay.
I'm gonna similar situation to Derrick Henry. Flush it week 2 out the drain. Buffalo just destroyed them. Jets never had a chance. Um, Bills front seven also very, very impressive. Joey Bosa looked really good. Jets were having a hard time giving him any running lanes. But again, all the conversation this entire summer in the offseason is this is going to be a committee. It could be a three-headed committee at some point with Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen. It just hasn't been the case. Brees has been the guy. So until I see that he's not getting opportunities, I'm not worried.
Okay. All right. We're not hitting the panic button.
Yeah.
Wide receivers. Some of these guys, I was telling Wu. I'll just start him off. AJ Brown, right? Had 8 targets, 5 catches for 27 yards. This is as bad could get, right? Like, he didn't get involved in week 1, right? And we obviously know that it was more of a ground and pound kind of action. Jalen Hurts had multiple rushing touchdowns. Saquon Barkley got involved. I'm okay with that. Week 2, now we're talking, we're playing the Chiefs, and the expectation was the running game would be hard to get going, so he had to go to the passing game, and they went to him, right? He had 8 targets, but um, not much going, right? And
It's
and
not clicking.
in a week where he can get 8 targets and be this inefficient, Jalen Hurts can only throw for 100 yards. Devontae Smith has a bad game, right? He's here,
And they
six
still
targets,
win.
four catches, and 53 yards, and they're still winning. Like, it's rough, you know what I mean? And I don't wish injuries on anyone, but I think until you see an injury towards Saquon Barkley, do you see AJ Brown become relevant?
Yeah, I mean, I had mentioned it going into the season. I was a little nervous about Philly's, passing volume to be willing to draft guys like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. I didn't think it was going to be anything to this magnitude. This is not the vision I had in mind. I figured
Yeah,
there'd still be some, again, only 2 weeks, but you know, week 1 was bad. I think did he only have one target or
he had
like two
one target.
targets?
He had one target for 1 catch, and I want to say for one for like 7 yards. That was
Like
it.
that is eye opening. That's not what I meant by I don't think Philly's going to have the appropriate passing volume to draft these guys. That's not even close. So, fact that we go on 2 weeks now, he has 8 targets and only 27 yards. That's just not AJ Brown, not at all. I really want to sit here and say the talent is going to outweigh the situation that we're in right now. Because AJ Brown, when he is at the top of his game, he's a top 5 receiver,
Oh my
and
God,
I'll
he's
stand on that for
one
sure.
of the most dominant receivers that you just like Jamar Chase level, that you just throw the ball to him and he's going to go up and get that 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, so I want to sit here and say I'm not fully nervous, but I'm definitely a little nervous.
I mean, we'll see, right? Next this week coming up, they're home against the Rams. Then they go to Tampa Bay. So two favorable
Solid
matchups,
defenses.
right?
Oh, the Rams have a pretty good defense, but
Yeah, they have. I don't know on the back end though, in their
yeah, I don't know
secondary.
much about their secondary.
But then week 5, right? They are home against Denver, and who Pat Surtain's going to be playing
Oh
that
yeah,
whole entire game.
yep,
So that rough. I don't know. I'm starting to feel a little bit panicked. Not ready to fire sale yet, but I'm
yeah.
starting to feel panicked on him. Cortland Sutton, four targets, 1 catch for 6 yards. Didn't really look like he got going in this game
Just
against
never a
Indy
part of the game. They almost scored 30 points and only had four
without him.
targets.
Yeah, like it's kind of nuts.
Yeah,
And then they go to play the Chargers, this week. So that could be something that we could end up seeing them in this section too.
right.
Devontae Smith, we talked about already. Calvin Ridley, 8 targets, 4 catches, 27 yards. Um, you know, this is the growing pains that you're gonna have with a rookie quarterback, right? You're gonna have some games that are gonna be good, and you're going to get dug games like this that are streaky. So,
Yeah.
you got to kind of staying put.
I don't have
Uh,
much to say about Calvin Ridley, but I will say that Cam Ward throw for the touchdown, one of the stupidest throws, but also one of the coolest throws I've ever seen in my life.
was that the one where he spun out of it and then
Threw it 25 yards across the field to the
yeah,
other
oh yeah,
corner of
yeah,
the
yeah.
end zone. Like
Yep,
that's, oh my God. Like a coach is probably they were probably all
so
screaming their
pissed.
head off when that throw went off. And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, he caught it. And it's like, do I want to be happy, or are we going to tell our young quarterback, you cannot do that again?
Yeah. I saved this one purposely for last, Woo. Brian Thomas Jr. here, 12 targets, only 4 catches and 49 yards, but there were multiple plays in this game where, a ball was thrown to him. He like alligator armed or, was afraid of contact and, things like that led to, interceptions and other things like that. It's so I guess are you worried about, Brian Thomas in this offense?
Kind of. And especially because of the target numbers that he's had. It's not like they're not giving him a ball, they're giving him opportunities and he's not taking them. One thing I want to bring up here because I saw it earlier. I don't remember who posted it, but it was a conversation about Nico Collins and Brian Thomas Jr. and who you're more worried about because Nico has gotten off to a really slow start here. He scored last night, so it made his stat line look a little bit better, but he only had 3 catches for 52 yards with that touchdown. He had 9 targets. Week one was 3 catches for 5 targets, no touchdowns. I think I'm more nervous about Brian Thomas Jr. than I am Nico Collins. And I feel like based off of the offenses, that might be crazy to say.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's crazy to say. I think if I'm interpreting it, I'm more concerned about Nico Collins just because I think Houston's offensive line is terrible
Right.
and very seldom are they going to have an opportunity to have like a, complex route, really kind of develop and the offensive line can hold back, for Stroud to get the ball to Nico Collins. So I would lean Thomas in that way because here's the other thing that I just was kind of looking at his sleeper profile is that he's currently dealing with a wrist injury. So they're saying right now that he's dealing with a wrist injury. He was dealing with it while during this game. So could the wrist have been a uh deterrent for him? Really going up and getting some of those catches and where he had those alligator arms, maybe. So I guess there's an excuse here for Brian Thomas Jr. But if these finishes are going to continue like this, there won't be enough excuses to get him to save him.
So are you more on the buy low side of this?
Uh, I don't know. My only thing too is that I I think he is going to be okay. The talent. I'm worried about the quarterback. I've never been a true believer in Trevor Lawrence. He obviously we've talked about you know BTJ having, his best games against, or with Mac Jones as quarterback, not much with Trevor Lawrence, although there were a couple of games that were still good. But it's, I don't know if I'm buying low on him just yet. Just yet.
Right.
I'd have to see more. I'd have to feel more confidence in Trevor Lawrence in order for me to be like, all right, I'm willing to buy low on Brian
Yeah.
Thomas Jr.
Okay.
And then last in the tight end section, right? A couple of guys who are just hanging out down here and have been hanging out down here. Laporta, right? I can chalk that one up to a dud. I'll forgive Laporta.
Yeah.
Mark Andrews, 3 targets, one
Once again, and take a
catch,
victory
two
lap.
yards. It's
Once
just
again.
scary hours. And each week, Isaiah Likely just gets healthier and healthier. So, if you're a Mark Andrews manager, get out now.
Yeah.
Evan Ingram, I know he was dealing with a calf injury and he did improve during the week and was able to go, but not involved at all.
I have
Uh,
Evan Ingram in a league, and the second he blows up, trading him.
yeah, get
Trade,
him out of
trade,
there.
trade.
I feel that. TJ Hawkinson. This is two
Killer.
weeks in a row now.
Killer.
3 targets, 1 catch for only 12 yards. I know we really were talking about with McCarthy, like being encouraged about him dumping off to his tight end or using his tight end as a safety valve. It's not happening. You
Not
know what I
even
mean?
close.
Not even close.
And is it bad? I'm like very confident with Carson Wentz stepping in. Like that's where I'm at with TJ
Yeah.
Hawkinson.
Would you? So, is I know you said Evan Ingram is a sell high as soon as he has a good game. Is
Oh,
Hawkinson in
Hawks in
that
that
same boat?
conversation. Hawks in
Yeah,
that conversation.
throw
I
him
want
in
to see
there.
what Carson Wentz looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to end us out, we have David Njoku, 5 targets, 4 catches, 40 yards. I put him in here because I want to say Harold Fanning had a better game than he did. Harold
Five of five
was
for 48,
5 of 5, so
pretty much
comparable.
identical.
Yeah, right. But still a dud. Not what you're really expecting. What you or
But
hoping
it's
for.
just scary that a rookie tight end is getting comparable work to him, if not more, like he did in week one.
And it was the Ravens too. But obviously next week isn't any better. You play the Green Bay Packers, then you play. Oh goodness, they play Green Bay at Detroit, home against Minnesota. Like that's a gauntlet of 3 weeks right there.
I know I'm picking in my survivor pool those
Yeah,
weeks.
absolutely. You pick all three of those teams.
Yeah.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is our week 2 recap. You've gone through the glory and the gory. We've given you our waiver wire pickups, filled you in on stuff around the NFL. So, you know, there's your little nightcap on week 2. So obviously, keep it here with us. Expect an episode on Friday where we're going to preview all the upcoming games. And get you ready. We we'll have a recap for the Thursday night game and kind of let you know what happened. I believe it's Miami Buffalo, right, Will?
Yeah, that game will be over by halftime. We probably won't have much to talk about.
Won't have much to talk about, but we appreciate you guys sticking it around with us. Please make sure you're following us on all of our socials: Twitter at Fourth and Fantasy Pod, Instagram and TikTok at Fourth and Fantasy, YouTube at Fourth and Fantasy. Make sure you're checking us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Make sure you're giving us a like, follow on our socials, giving us the 5-star ratings, and leave a comment because you may see yourself on the show. But again, we appreciate you listening with us. Make sure you come and check us out on Friday for the week 2 or week 3 preview. And we're rolling, Will. We're,
Yes,
we're, we're
sir.
getting this thing going.
We're
But
here.
with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on the other side.
See ya.